Hello, welcome to the 10th day of February 2022. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily good life meditation, an activity that I do every morning, and I do this to remind myself of my life objectives and principles, and to compare these against the last 24 hours and prepare for the coming 24 hours. So let's do this. First, last night, I slept better. I think it's because I got through my most challenging meetings already this week, and they went well. Things are going good at work. Next Monday will be a challenging day, and I imagine that the anxiety will probably arise probably Saturday night. I'll probably have a rough morning that is, usually on Sunday morning, and I'll probably be up before Venus again, or up with Venus again on Monday morning. But I think I have all my ducks in a row for this. Yeah. I've been working really hard. It's not that I'm working harder than I ever have before. It's that since I work from home now, I can be so much more efficient. I don't have to worry about the commute. I can leverage my life better, my time, and I'm more rested. Unless I'm up with Venus. I mean, and I'm able to really squeeze a lot of productivity out of every hour of work. And excuse me, I don't know why I'm making so many noises. Sorry about this. I'm getting old. My attitude has really changed in the last 2 years. I was telling Yumiko about that when we were walking the dogs yesterday. We walk every day at lunch together, because she works from home too. She has the downstairs, I have the upstairs. So I can play music in my room and it doesn't bother her. And she can have her meetings in Japanese and I have my meetings in English, and they don't cross paths. Anyway, we were walking the dogs to the dog park, which is just a couple of blocks away. And I was telling her that I'm so grateful for the Ventura experience, because it really softened me. And I would like to say I can use the word matured me. And definitely it humbled me for a lot of reasons. It was a very challenging 2 years. It also pressed my professional skills to new limits and made me cognizant, and I was able to complete, I would like to think successfully, projects that were the type that I would have wanted to have run away from. So now, back in my old environment, at my old job, the types of projects that I'm doing here are complicated also. But it's like I've climbed that mountain now. But more importantly than that, it's the difference in the way that I'm approaching the challenges of the day. Although I'm anxious, although I can't sleep well in the morning, when I'm engaged at work, especially when I'm in meetings, which is a PM, I'm in a lot of meetings. It's like paddling a raft down a stream when you come across the rugged rapids. And instead of panicking and fretting about the big rock ahead of me, I just choose my course and start paddling, try to get around the rock. And if I hit the rock, then I bear it, and I keep my composure to the best of my ability, aware that I may get thrown into the water, but if not accepting of that, at least resigned to that possibility. So it's a good time in my career, and it's a good time in life. It's good to get older and have the benefit of the past. Excuse me. All right. But who doesn't have the benefit of the past? I guess those that don't have a past. Well, I mean, there are people that don't have much of a past. They die young. But then they don't need any benefit anymore, do they? I don't mean to sound flippant or glib. Let's do this. First, my 7 objectives. To be prepared to die young, or to die old, or better put, to die now. Yeah, to be prepared to die now. Prepared to die now. I have my affairs in order, my relationships and my art. And to maintain reason as my as the way that I think about the world. Maintaining an honest, maintaining honesty. I'm trying to find a way to say that. Being honest. Holding myself accountable to an honest living. And one that is objective. And highly skeptical of anything that I perceive as important. To remember that I have no soul, that God probably doesn't exist, that there is no afterlife. All I have is this body that sustains a form of consciousness that remains a mystery, but a mystery that I believe will be one day uncovered through the pursuit of reasoned exploration of what's going on between my ears, our ears, collectively. And to keep in mind that this consciousness of mine that I call the homunculus is always alone, like a rock upon the sea, upon a rock upon the sea. That as close as we can get to others, we're still, each of us, upon our own little rock. And there's no warmth that can really get through all the way. And there's no salvation, and certainly no rescue. We all will go into that sea one day. And boy, is it deep. That the concepts that I maintain, that I develop and maintain, and use in the application of my better living are opinions that I've been convinced of through my experience and the cases and arguments that have been made around and towards me and within my own mind. That what I hold to be good and evil do not pervade the universe. There is no goodness on the far side of Neptune, and there is no evil in the heart of a stone. These things are what I maintain up here, and what you do too, and they become more meaningful when more than one person reaches agreement about what they are. Almost more objective at that point, at least in terms of application. If you and I agree about what good is, then we're in a position to link arms and pursue that good. And it becomes something more deliberate. and again, seemingly more real. But not really. Not in the big scheme of things, apparently. Unless I've got my cosmology and my philosophy way off, which is certainly possible. But everyone needs some philosophy and cosmology to operate against it, so this is what I've got at this time. So I'll keep up the quest. As for my purpose, I have 3. In this order. To be a good father and husband. But really the husband part is in the pursuit of the fatherhood part. Fatherhood part is, I know that's not what you people usually say, but the fatherhood part is the first priority, because it's a mandate from within my body. It's what animals do. We protect and sustain our young. I know not always. I know there's exceptions. There are strange little backwaters of ecological activity where the parents consume or kill their young. But in the larger scheme of things, our species survives because we manage to get our copies of our genes successfully into another generation and get them to viability before we ourselves die. That's a mandate. So it's a purpose as good as objectively true as our DNA. Then my second purpose would be to live a virtuous life. Now those are two, they're head to head, right? I would almost say I could easily switch them out as 1 and 2, because I wouldn't want to be a good father if I was not a virtuous man. But maybe that's part and parcel of virtue, right? If I'm saying I'm going to be a good father, probably I should switch that out. I should probably say I want to be a virtue. I want to define what virtue is, live a virtuous life, and then be a good father in accordance with virtue. Yeah, that sounds better, actually. Maybe I'll switch those out. See, that's what part of this whole process is thinking it through. Gotta switch those. And then the last purpose is to pursue my mission of sharing the message in my book, Going Alone, which is the good life. These 7 objectives and 30 principles. Available on Amazon or on goingalone.org. If you buy it off of goingalone.org, I'll sign it and send you some stickers. How's that for merch? A Die Alive sticker. Everything is sand and then more than sand. Sand all the way down. If you read the writings of Lucretius in this incredible poem on the nature of the universe, it's sand all the way down. It's atoms and void. Incredible book. Highly recommended. Atomic principle there. Everyone and everything seems to have some characteristics and character that they and it and we abide. And it's good to know what that nature is so that we can better deal with it. I'll give you an example. I really have to speak vaguely whether I trespass on gossip. No, I'm not even going to talk about it because there's no way I can talk about this without stepping that direction. So I won't. Let me just suffice it to say that I applied that principle last week. And I knew I was doing it in the moment that I was doing it. And against a human being, or not against, towards a human being. And it has secured our better relations ever since. Simply recognizing the way that they are. And boy, wouldn't it be great if people took me for as I am? I mean, holding me accountable, right? I mean, the thing in question is not something, there's no evil involved, there's no badness involved. It's just the way that person is. And if it's just not the way I would be, but it's the way that person is. So, okay, that's the way they are. So that's how we're going to operate. it's a professional relationship, so I have to work. I have to deal with the person, so I'll deal with. They're not evil. They're not even bad. They're just them. So we can work with that. The principle of nature. What about that thing people call free will? I'm convinced, but I can't prove that free will is an illusion. I think these decisions that we make are like, I know I overuse the analogy. Let's see if I can find a better one. They're like leaves falling in the wind, where the turbulence and the gusts and the aerodynamics of the leaf cause the leaf to toss and flit down through. That's us falling off the tree. Going bang into something and it goes off this way. No gust comes and blows it back up or whatever, and then we finally land somewhere. It's obvious we wouldn't attribute any will to the falling of a leaf. Likewise to the falling of our lives, right? I think that it's a far more convincing tale to tell ourselves that we have free will as we flit and float around, but really all we're doing is being jostled and animated by the circumstance around us. There is some seeming energetic engine of decision going on, but I think the influences of the rest of the world far outweigh any the inertia of our life outweighs any choices that we actually make, wherein every choice that we ever make is, even though we can choose anything we want within the scope of possibility and our ability to consider things, we would never have made any choice other than the choice that we actually did. I fumbled that. Well, we'd always, if we could rewind the universe and all things work the same, we would always make the same choice over and over and over again. The key thing is that if all things were the same. Now, of course, as far as we know it, at the quantum level, there's quantum indeterminacy, which means that we could never rerun. We need a time machine first, but even if we had a time machine, the universe would never replay exactly. So we could never perform this experiment. It remains unfalsifiable. Therefore, I can't prove it's true. I'm stuck then with this hypothesis that my gut tells me is true, yet I can't prove it. So this is where I perform the grave and awful sin of believing something on faith. This is my sin. This is my dirty little secret. I believe we don't have free will. I can't prove it. And I get to do just like the religious do. Well, it's just a matter of faith. You just have to have faith, So I know what it's like. Okay. So there's this thing, maturity, that I think is comprised of two things, wisdom and fortitude. Where when we're wise, we remember our successes and failures, and when we're strong, we can avoid the failures and try to reproduce the successes where possible. That's maturity. We humans need each other. We are social animals. Even though my book is titled Going Alone, I don't advocate or recommend going alone for very, very far or for very long. The moral of the story is to come back, to go alone, discover what's out there, and then come back and build a good life from that, founded on that. And I always want to be careful about what I say, to be very determined and deliberate in my speaking, to be careful about the vocabulary that I use, to build and maintain a good vocabulary so that I can understand what I'm reading, because I like to read old books. they use a lot of words that we don't use anymore. But to reserve those words for contexts where I think that they would be generally understood and appreciated, never showing. And to never, ever, ever gossip. Gosh damn it. I did gossip yesterday. Sure did. It was kind of a slip up. Before I knew it, I was about this deep into gossip. No going back. So, but I did. As soon as I realized where I was, I did rein it in and stop. Damn it. Literally, that's, I think, the first time I can remember gossiping in months, long time. Maybe, I mean, I'm not trying to brag, but it's, it's so rare now for me to gossip, or that it really stands out when I do. It's like sneaking a beer when you've given up drinking. It's a memorable event. Now remember, my definition of gossip is specific. It's not talking about people in general. It's talking about other people. Well, not talking about other people who are not there in general. I do talk about people when they're not there. For example, yesterday I spoke, this is not the incident in question, I spoke with a supervisor at work about one of his staff who he assigned to join my team. And we talked about it in a professional level because we even talked about that person's character as we were trying to work to find a way to help that person be productive and successful. It wasn't in any way disparaging. In fact, I wouldn't have even been embarrassed if that person had overheard what we said, because our ambition was our ambition was virtuous. Now, the key is if I'm talking about somebody and I suddenly learned that they were behind me overhearing everything that I was saying, and I would be embarrassed that they heard what I was saying, that is where we start to borderline on gossip. That's tricky then too, because there are circumstances where even that can be acceptable. For example, if I was at the hospital talking with a doctor about my mother's medical condition, I'm just making this up. Let's say she had some medical condition, and I was talking to the doctor about it, and it's something that I would be embarrassed if my mom heard me telling the doctor something about, her condition or her past or something that I knew that I felt the doctor needed to know for her better treatment. That's different. That's where I'm doing it in the pursuit of virtue, similar to what was happening with at work yesterday. But just engaging in gossip to fill the time, to pass the time, or even worse, to spread rumors or malice. That's not virtuous. Damn it, I did it yesterday. I did it for spite. One of those moments when you just want to release a little frustration. And I did that. It's easy to do that with others, a sympathetic ear. Yet I'm embarrassed that I did that. And as soon as I caught myself, I stopped. Damn it. So, oh well. Bullseye aim, right? Sometimes you miss the board altogether. I want to be a person who controls my consumption of everything in my life, including how much I work and what I do to relax, how high the volume is on music, especially now that I have this new stereo system here. And to realize that such a life is a simple life, a temperate life, and to cultivate apathy, or an ability to let go of the things that I have, over which I have no more control, or I have never had any control. I don't worry too much about getting caught in a rainstorm which I can't do much about. I simply try to find my way through it. I certainly don't get mad at the rain, nor do I get mad at circumstances that are outside my control. Thus is the application of apathy a very useful thing. I want to always remember and keep in mind just how terrible life can be and is right now for so many people who are suffering this very moment and who will begin to suffer this very next moment, who will suffer till the end. There's passing pains, and then there's the pain of the end, and there's pain of the body and pain of the mind, and anguish of relationships, the despair of a job that is just grinding you away. Just so many types of horror unfolding everywhere all around us. If you and I are so fortunate as to not be enmeshed in any horror at the moment, it'll probably find us soon enough. And if we're really lucky to live our whole lives horror-free, relatively speaking, eventually at least a moment of horror at least will come when we wink out. But for most of us, we have our episodes, and for some of us, it's more than we can bear. For example, I know somebody right now that's going through a horror. I talked about this yesterday. That is so unbearable that I can barely bring my mind to think about it. And I have reached out to help. I have done my part, I think, to help. And I just, like right now even, it's twisting my brain. Just thinking about it. I mean, literally it makes my eyes want to go cross-eyed. And it's not just us humans, but our pets too. And the animals that we consume, the horror we put them through, and then the wildlife in general. It seems like it's all gutted in for us, right? So I try to remember that, and I will buckle up and bear what I must, including the things that are not so horrible, but just downright difficult. Those are the things we have to bear. We have to point the nose of our ship towards that break in the clouds. Keep the weather. Holds tight through the horror. And then I don't want to be a man that gets upset and throws my upset into the world. I used to do that. I really don't do that anymore. It doesn't do me any good or anyone else, especially when I do it in such a way that other people consume it and then it makes them unsettled and they wind up maybe doing the same later. So try to avoid that whole feast. And then I recognize that I spend a lot of my time and a lot of my living distracting myself from the things that I don't want to see, namely the emptiness of the universe. There's a great veil of indifference that is just behind everything that distracts us. And that's what going alone is all about, is going far and deep to where the distractions don't have their sway upon us, their magical spell seemingly, and we're forced to see the emptiness of the universe beyond. A universe without God, or at least if there is a God, a well-hidden God, maybe a deistic God that keeps the machinery running, but is otherwise disinterested. In whatever the case, it seems to be not there. We're on our own. That's what we don't want to see. That's why we distract ourselves from the great indifference. To be happy where I am, what I'm doing, and who I am, which is pretty easy right now in this comfy little chair. A little trickier to do sometimes when I'm in a Or I'm just firing up a difficult meeting at work. I'd rather be somewhere else. I'd rather not be the leader of the meeting. Why can't I just be a damn participant? Why do I always have to lead all these meetings? Come up with the agenda, organize it, to deliver it, write up the minutes and send them out. Damn it. But yeah, I strive to be all right with that. By the way, after all, it's making me a better man, even though it's hard. And it serves very useful purposes, back to my purpose, namely the one of being a provider and helping my daughter get into adulthood and adult viability on her own. There's this thing I call the Path of Wildness, which is a way to get through being stuck in life, get out of it, and on to something else. You decide it's time for a change. You collect some facts about the change, and then you make a decision. And if you need a little more time, you give yourself a little more time. And if you still can't make a decision, then maybe lead with the gut. Decide down here, left, that's right, left, forward, back, whatever. And off you go. It may not be the right direction, but there you go. You're off to a new life. Ready to add a new chapter. Good bully for you. There's different kinds of risks. There's the easy stuff, go to school, get a job, find a spouse, buy a house. Oh, did I say get a job? Yeah, make a kid, save for retirement, and then go golf every day after you retire until you're dead. These are the things that everyone around you is going to go, yay, go for it, for the most part, right? There's also a deeper level risk, which is, damn, I'm curious to find myself. Some people aren't curious to find themselves, but if you're one of those that is curious to find yourself, then you better do it when you're young, because it'll probably haunt you when you're old if you don't. And for the most part, you can't do it when you're old. You can try. It's just not the same. Some people kind of pull it off. It's just not the same. There's something about pursuing that attempting to become a self-actuated human being. That sounds like goobly goop. I don't know what that means. There's something about having a hell of an adventure and discovering something about yourself and returning to the world broken and scarred and sunburnt and smiling ear from ear and going, God, you won't believe what just happened to me in your 20s. That you just can't replicate in your 60s. That's what I mean. And so that's the risk of avoiding risk. So I recommend doing it when you're young. There are 8 sins in my worldview, and the consequence of these sins is damnation. Not in some afterlife, which I don't think is real, but in the here and now. These are credulity, believing things too quickly, falsity, too easily. Falsity, being untrue. Faith, believing things where the fact of belief is held up as the reason for the belief, the justification for the belief, which is circular. Hope, which is clutching of pearls, a desire, a wanting without action. Authority, we're believing things because we're really impressed by the person or the institution that professes it. Dogma, where we believe because that's the tradition. And then superstition, which is nonsense. It's almost like a form of entertainment. And then gossip. There we go. There's my sins. Damn it, I did the gossip. And I have faith that we don't have free will, which is another sin. Forgive me, Father. If you're up there. Never mind. Okay, when we're dead, I already said this before, so I'll just repeat it briefly because this is where the principle comes in. Complete oblivion. When we're dead, there's no reunion with the ones we love because we're gone, they're gone. And there can be no reconciliation because there's no way to reconcile when we're gone. And there's no final justice because there's no possibility of justice in an afterlife. It doesn't exist. So pursue those. I try to pursue those things now. Assess my relationships, seek to reconcile, and pursue justice within the means and the bounds of my ability. Which is, I'm not a lawyer, but I just try to be fair and honest. And if I have to go to court, I'll do my part there. I already talked about the Great Life Adventure, setting out in our 20s to make a real experience of life and come back to start our settled life in our 30s with a hell of a story. And maybe some scars to show for it. And then if we start to feel like we're getting some words that are appearing in our head, some ideas are showing up, then make sure we write them down. The muse, this little voice that comes from in our head, is a real thing apparently. But the problem is that she when she's done speaking, she retreats away, and if she comes back, she usually says something else. So if we don't write it down when we have a chance, we won't. At least half of this book is notes from my muse. There are the parts that are in italics like this, and I wrote them down when the inspiration came to me, and then collected them into categories, which became the chapters of the book. I couldn't have written them down, and I at a later date, I had to actually pull the motorcycle off to the side of the road and stop and scramble for something, write it down. And what's really interesting is that this book, I've been editing the book for 3 years. No, not 3 years. It's been over 3 years now. And I change all of the other prose. Half the book is not muse stuff. It's deliberate writing where I sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write something. I've been editing that for 3 years, and that stuff constantly changes. I never change a word of the muse inspired text. It's like it comes out spot on, if I do say so myself. But I've read others who describe the same thing. The stuff that comes out when we're inspired comes out complete somehow. It's like, but I don't, of course, believe there's any mystery into it. I don't believe that there's any, ghostly muse that's whispering in my ear. I believe it's again the confluence of the universe. It's the brain chemistry in a certain state, in a certain circumstance, that the words spell out. So, watch out if that starts coming. Be ready. Have your pen ready. Have your camera ready to take a photo, or to your easel and art and paint something, or whatever you do, to sing a song, compose a song, however you do it. Have your art at the ready. The tools of your art. There's this idea that we strive to hit some mark, but we get upset when we don't get a bullseye. How reasonable is that? It's not. Most of the time when you're playing darts, you miss, unless you're really good. Likewise in life. I missed on Monday and I got called out for it. And as soon as it happened at work, I was like, oh, bullseye aim. Whereas, before I had this principle, I would have been kicking myself saying, gosh darn it, why didn't I get it just right? Now I was like, wow, that's all I did was I just missed it by that mark. Pretty good. Just one shot off from the bullseye, it was pretty close. It's a different perspective. Life is like a gladiatorial arena. And the principles that we have at our disposal are the tools that we use in our gladiatorial combat. Our little principle of temperance pulled out. Oh, I need a little apathy right now. Oh, what's my purpose? I'm going to shield myself with my reason. Pow, pow. That's how I like to go through life. Which is also an uphill climb, right? Every day, if we're moving up, it's a little bit hard, the wearing. But boy, the view gets better the higher we get. But the higher we get, we keep turning around. Still an empty universe. Just you and me. And all of them. Just for a moment. I wish I could remember more that I don't need anything, or very little. I need some warmth. Yeah, I need some human connection. And I need a full tummy. And I need a little bit of security. Well, I like my medical card. Other than that, not much. Nothing really is enough. And then lastly, to try to live a happy life, to have fun, to attend to the important things, to be aware of the horror show, to be cognizant of the pain that's going on, and to be ready to deal and bear with that when it's going to, as it begins to come to me, when it will come to me. But at the same time, to have fun. I'm gonna sneeze. And that's my good life meditation for today. Hold on. Pardon me. Now, let's just reflect a little bit on the coming day. It's a Thursday. Tomorrow's my Friday off. I could go to Siberia tonight if I wanted to. I wonder if I should. I think the weather's going to be warm enough. It would be a nice ride out. The backpack's right there. I could go. Helmet's right up there. Maybe in the morning, or maybe tonight. I don't know. But today I have like 4 meetings today. 2 of which I'm not actually running, which is nice, but I do need to pay close attention. I'm shadowing on that project. I'll eventually soon take it over. Soon, in terms of months. But I do have that damn contract I'm trying to get through. I've been that 85-page contract. I didn't get a chance to read a word of it yesterday. I was so busy. I hope I can get some clean shots. I think I have just about everything together, but I really need to take that short list of Wave 1 sites and get that finalized with my contacts so that I'm ready for that big meeting on Monday morning. If I can do that, that's going to help me sleep through the night. Other than that, I think that's my plan and that's my day. Thank you for joining me for the Good Life Meditation today. I wish you all the best. And please remember to be safe, but not too safe.